IB coordinator _. So today's video is Revision Techniques 2 mind maps. So the idea is that when you revise throughout these series of videos, I'm going to give you lots of different ways that may be best suited for you. So I hope you've seen Revision Techniques 1 on my last video on using past papers. And this video is using mind maps, and I hope that some of the ideas in this video can help you with your revision, whether it be for GCSEs, A-levels or International Baccalaureate, or actually any exam coming up. The mind map is also a really good way to summarise information throughout your course, so that by the time you come to the end of your course, you've got your work in order. I'd just like to, if you just look at the video here, mind maps actually come from a man called Tony Buzan. And if you'd like to look more into mind maps after this video, please go to his website, tonybuzan.com. So this is where I found out about Tony Buzan. So I'd like to just go through very quickly some of the ideas that are used in mind maps, and hopefully you can take them on board if they suit your way of learning and help you in your revision. So if you'd like to just come here quickly. So the first thing about mind maps is the idea that, if you just look at the book, the idea is that when we learn, a lot of us find that, if you look at a book here, this is, we're looking at AS UK Government and Politics. A lot of us find that maybe black lines, straight black lines, don't really stimulate our brain, and it can get a bit boring. And by the time you've read from here down to here, you kind of wake up from the trance and think, I've actually not remembered much about that. So for some people, if it works for you, reading out of books and making notes out of books, please go ahead and do that. But otherwise, if you're having trouble with that, I think this idea of mind maps is a very different way, and it can actually help you by having key ideas with many different colours and pictures to help you along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just some of the rules of mind mapping, and then I'm going to go through a mind map that I did earlier, explaining to you how I believe it can help me try to remember key information. So the first thing about the mind map, here's a blank page, is that we start in the centre of the page. Okay, obviously if we start in the centre of the page, this gives us the opportunity to work all around the outside of the centre, and you can see my page sideways on here to give me more space to write in. Okay, so at the in my centre, it's really nice if I have an image. Now my image goes in the centre. Now if you're like me, you're really bad at art, it doesn't really matter, because this mind map is really going to go the way that your brain wants it to. So therefore the pictures that you draw, as bad as they are, should have connections to help you. But the reason we have an image in the middle is because images stimulate ideas. And obviously if you think about, sending postcards, when we send them from to home from holiday, we don't send a blank white piece of postcard. We show an image of the beach or wherever we're staying, because that can then make the receiver imagine better what we're doing and where we are. Of course, if I say the word pizza to you as well, your brain isn't going P-I-Z-Z-A. It's imagining a picture of a nice pizza. So the image is there. Okay, and what I'm going to do in my image is maybe have a question that I'm going to be revising, or a topic, and from then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to branch outwards from the centre. And it's important to see that I've got many different colours. So when I'm branching out from the centre throughout my mind map, I'm using many different colours so that my brain is really interested in this. Of course, show colours that show up nicely. Okay, because colours, just like images, are going to stimulate your brain, and it's going to add life and vibrancy to your mind map, okay, and energy and to your creative thinking. Okay, so what we look at in our main image here is these central branches. Okay, so my thick curvy branches, my thick one is my main idea. Okay, and this is curvy because my brain doesn't like straight lines, and so I've got my main idea for this part of my note taking. Okay, and then what I do is I make sure that I connect my secondary ideas to it. So my secondary ideas, the branch can, be still curly, but slightly smaller, but it's connected. It's important that my brain sees the connection there. So I've got my main idea there, and from my main idea, I have connections. And my connections may well go off 3 or 4 fold. Okay, connect. And the key idea here is that along each connection, I've only got one keyword. Okay, and from that keyword, what it's going to do, it's going to trigger memory in my brain. And to help it do that, what I'm going to do is throughout here, with my connection here, I'm going to have images. Okay, so my brain likes linking things together. Okay, and if you connect your branches with your pictures around it, then your brain is going to connect them easier. And a lot more, it's going to be a lot more understandable for you, okay? It's important to curl throughout. The brain will find it boring if you don't. And it's important that you don't overload your mind map with words. So one keyword per line, or maybe a phrase per line, is really important here, because then it gives your it gives yourself more flexibility and more room to actually put the images in and put other smaller ideas, so you can create a lot of ideas around without what we're not doing on this main idea is I'm not going to be writing 5 or 6 lines of words. I'm going to keep my words to a minimum, because all I need, okay, all I need is my key main idea linked in with my connections here, colourful, curvy, and this is going to help my brain remember, and it's going to trigger the knowledge that I've got inside that maybe isn't going to come out if I'm getting dragged down into these boring lines. Okay, so images are really important because they are key to unlocking the knowledge in your brain. And as I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're not a good artist, because the image there is really from you to yourself. So each mind map is personal to you. Now, of course, in some subjects, it's really good idea to work with friends and split up mind maps, and then you can make a lot of work spread out and less work for yourselves. However, one guard against that is if the different person has different ideas coming from their brain that doesn't suit you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you a mind map that I prepared earlier. So let's say that I'm studying UK government politics, and I've got an exam part on here, which is comparing New Labour with traditional Labour. So in the book here, although it's blue and a bit of green, it's a nice textbook, don't get me wrong. It's all straight lines. I've got pages of New Labour, traditional Labour Party. So what I'm going to do is hopefully put this into a mind map, which I can then put on my bedroom wall, and then I can look at it and I can practice ready for my exam question on it. Okay, so if you want to come and look what I did earlier. Okay, so here is a mind map that I have created on New Labour versus Old Labour. So as I said earlier, I've started with an image. There's the rose, the emblem of the Labour Party. And I've done verses there. I like that. I like football. So it's one versus another. I've got Old Labour and New Labour. And my keywords in my essay here, I've got differences, similarities. And the arrows clearly show me that the differences between the New and Old Labour Party are at the top and the similarities are at the bottom. So I'm just going to quickly go through my mind map and let you know what knowledge this unlocks from me. So I'm going to start with the differences, okay? So a keyword here is capitalism, okay? And I'm going to go old and new, and you can see I've branched out. Okay, so capitalism with my Old Labour there, big on public services, so maybe doesn't look like it to you, but for me that's a train. I've got coal, I've got electricity. Okay, I put some public services there that the Old Labour believe should be owned by the public. Okay, but Old Labour wasn't just public; it did also have private sector there. And then I've just put Virgin Airlines, which is a famous private sector company. And what I've done here is a keyword there is monitor. So I've got there, for me, that's Big Ben, and there's an I. So I've got the Parliament, I've got government checking on the private sector. Okay. Whereas with capitalism there's what Old Labour believe. New Labour, however, I've got my ticks here. They love the free market. Okay, they accept it, and I put pound signs all over. So they're linked much closer here to the private sector. I can move on, and I can talk to you now that another big difference was the class system. Okay, so old Labour here, they believe there's a conflict. Okay, so I've got red, there's conflict, there's argument. Here's my class. I've got upper, middle, and lower class. I've got the few at the top, looking down over the lower classes there. Okay, and there could be problems, conflicts there. We've got there should be a fair tax system, the old Labour believe, and the old Labour believe that there should be some control over the wealth here. But I go into New Labour, and actually they reject this idea of the class system. They believe that actually the class system isn't important. What's significant is that each individual within that system steps out of the class system and is provided for and looks for opportunities themselves to improve education, housing, money. My third main idea here on my mind map, mapping out from the centre, is equality. Old Labour, you can see my equal sign here. I've got people of all different colours, okay, all different types of people are equal with each other, and social and economic equality. So I've got house there, I've got speech, I've got a book for education, and I've got the health service, okay? And they believe in economic equality as well, so I've got my pound signs, and that shows me that tax raises, the more money you get, the more tax you pay, okay? Which will enhance equality. However, New Labour, I've taken the same picture, and I'm showing here in my picture that New Labour believe that inequality, is natural. There's my keyword. And it's okay, and it's part of society, provided that at the bottom people have opportunity to go up, and that's a key part of New Labour. So if you look here, if you just branch out, I'm not going to go through the whole mind map with you, but if you can see what I've done, I've got my big branches here, then they're going off into rights. I've got clear. This is now a similarity. I've got rights, I'm helping it with pictures, my keywords, okay? Everyone has rights, there's no discrimination. My keywords, race, gender, religion, okay? So what this does, the outcome of this is that instead of, or as well as, should I say, my textbook, which, you know, I'm sitting there, as I said, reading, maybe forgetting, what I've done is I've transferred it here. Now, what's going to happen here now is that these pictures for me are stimulating my brain. These pictures here of the class system, I can talk about the class system from this. I can talk about conflict. This mind map is quick to make, and what it's doing is it's triggering important information. Just look at how many ideas I've got here, and the pictures on their own, you know, gender here doesn't really mean anything. But the key is rights, similarities, rights, equality. One way of equality that New and Old Labour believe in is equality of gender. So gender on its own is attached 3 ways back to my centre of Old Labour, New Labour. So the ideas are really linked in, and if you can see here, the you know, many different pictures, many different ideas I've got there with the minimum writing, and this is interesting. It's colourful. It's all in capital letters. It's wavy. Okay, they're going to help me focus my study. I can focus on these links between ideas. And the idea is that everything here is connected. All of these ideas are connected to the centre of my mind map, which is the picture of the Labour Party. I've got clearly old and new and versus. So what I can do with this, I can practice this, I can practice speeches from this, or I could have this here on my desk, and I could set myself a target. Let's say I've got 15 minutes now and I've got to write an essay, and to write an essay on the differences between Old and New Labour, instead of that there, which I've been through in class, it's been explained, I've done activities with my teacher, it's all fine, and in my head I've got all the information, and really my head has just created this information, and now I can practice exam skills from it. Okay, thank you very much for listening to this video. I'm just going to show you again at the end now, that if you've got any questions, please subscribe, Teaching and Learning, and send